I am from the village of Minerva. I am from the village. I am from the village. I am from the village. I am from the village of Minerva. Who said that?
Bring it! You have walked into a mental show. You walked into a diseased show. You might catch something from this show. You know what you might catch? An idea. Who said that? I'm coming. Okay. Listen, ridiculous show for you today, as you might imagine. We got good news. We got a lot of bad guys leaving. We got bad news as to who's replacing them. Okay. We got crazy people on the show today, and not just me. I'm going to start with the one of them in just a second. And then, later in the show, the role of men. What do we need to do? Are men living out too much? That's fascinating. You know who else is on the program a little later today? Senator Gary Hart. Hello, McFly. What kind of show are we doing here? It's only the largest online news show in the world. Not a big deal. All right, so listen. You want to start with diseased? We go to Glenn Beck. This dude is beyond mental. Look at this nonsense he's about to tell you. Yeah, boom, right off the bat. Clip number 9. We've apparently made a pact today, or this week, that every clip we start the show with does not have audio. Have you noticed? Every single day of this week. I promise you that Glenn Beck is mental, but unfortunately, we weren't able to deliver that with audio. Okay, everybody calm down. Largest online show in the world. We'll figure this out, okay? And then we'll come back to Glenn Beck. I got Christine O'Donnell for you, too. I wanted to start with her. We'll come back to her, too. Joe Miller, we're going to come back to him. We're going to come back to everything else. Okay, let's flip the topics around. We'll work out that difficulty in a second. So, let's start with this. When we were doing healthcare reform, my main complaint was, hey, listen, we didn't change the system, right? Now, how many times do you guys hear me say that, right? Only 1.5 million. And I said, look, my main problem isn't any particular thing, public option or this or that. It's just the heart of the system is exactly as it was before, with private insurance companies still left in charge, right? So, and then, of course, I was dismissed by the Obama lovers and Obama himself and Robert Gibbs and said, they'll never be satisfied with anything. Oh, please. Historic health care reform. Historic. Mission accomplished. What are you talking about, right? So, one of the things that was historic about it, apparently, was that starting immediately, that you will not be able to discriminate against children with pre-existing conditions anymore, which is fantastic. And look, I said there was always sort of good things in the bill, right? And starting in 2014, you're not going to be able to discriminate against anybody with a pre-existing condition. But immediately, we were going to start with no discrimination against children with pre-existing condition. Now, but I said, wait a minute now. Look, as long as you leave the private insurance companies in charge, they will find a way to manipulate these rules. So guess what's happened immediately? They have found a way to manipulate the rules. So what are they doing? Well, WellPoint and Coventry One, two of the largest healthcare companies in the country, are saying, hey, you know what? Well, then we're not going to cover any children. How do you like us now? Look, I'm going to do my what did I tell you? Second, go ahead, you tell me what I told you of this story, okay? I said, look, they're going to get rid of a whole bunch of people. They don't care. They just want to cover the richest people, right? Because they make a better profit margin off of them. They want to cover the healthiest people, the youngest people, etc. But whatever they might not make a good margin on, they're not the government. They don't give a damn about the general welfare. They don't really particularly give a damn about their clients' welfare. Their job is to make as much money as possible. So if they say, oh, we're not making that much money off of kids, well, there goes the kids. Oh, they don't have health care anymore? Who cares? They're not my kids. I got no issues with that. So they've dumped all the kids from their programs. And who are they blaming? They're blaming health care reform. They're blaming the Democrats. They're blaming Obama. Just like we told you they would. Why? Because we didn't get change. They're still in charge. They're going to keep raising our premiums and keep denying us health care. And they're going to find every other way to do it. Because there's no alternative. There's no public choice where we're going, hey, you know what? If they deny my kids, I'm going to go and have, like, for example, a public option where I can go and get health insurance from the government and they won't let my kids get sick or die, okay, or my grandmother or anyone else. But we don't have that, except we have a president who put up a mission accomplished banner. By the way, as far as the industry is concerned, their top lobbyist was a woman named Karen Ignani, and she was the president and chief executive officer of America's Health Insurance Plans. That's all the health insurance companies put together, and she was their top lobbyist. And at the time, she was bragging. She said, health plans recognize the significant hardship that a family faces when they are unable to attain coverage for a child with a pre-existing condition. It's like, oh, I know. My heart goes out to those kids with pre-existing conditions. The healthcare industry wants to help them. We want to help them. She goes on to say, that is why health plans in 2008 proposed reforms to make pre-existing conditions exclusions a thing of the past. So she's saying, we get about the kids, we're going to make it a thing of the past, we're volunteering to do that. She said, with respect to the provisions related to coverage for children, we await and will fully comply with the regulation described in your letter. We'll fully comply. And then it passes, they're like, fuck off, we're going to fully comply. Bunch of idiots. Okay, we're not going to comply with dick. Okay, your kid's gone. Okay, not covering them anymore. They get sick, that's your problem, not my problem. I'm not making enough of a buck off your kid's health. Okay, so sad day for you. You know what we might have needed? A second option where we know we'd be covered. But I'm the unreasonable lib. I'm the professional left. What would I know? I don't have the genius of Rahm Emanuel. I don't have the genius of all these guys in the administration. I don't know how to play political chess. No. Obama, you nailed it, man. You nailed it. That's why I hear everybody across the country saying, oh, I'm going to vote for Democrats in 2010. You know why? My health care is so much better today than it was before. Yeah, oh, yeah, my premium's going way down. Yeah, no question. Oh, well, I'm covered, and I'm positive that if I get sick, my health care company will cover it. Today and in 2012 and in 2014. That's why I'm voting for Democrats. Have you heard a single person in the country saying that? A single one? No. I know I'm unfair. Most of it gets implemented in 2014. Yeah, good luck with that. Now, you know what? I'm going to rub it in. Because I was right and they were all wrong, okay? Every time they fail, okay, every time something like this comes in, I'm going to come in and I'm going to rub it in and rub it in and rub it in. Not because I don't want to succeed, because the exact opposite. There is a way to succeed. You're just not doing it, okay? And then you tell me I'm unreasonable. You know what's unreasonable? Not doing a goddamn thing and then pretending you did reform. Oh, we covered 32 million new people. You'll see, wait till 2014. They'll be totally covered. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. All right. Now, that's healthcare. Meanwhile, hey, what's going on? We got great news, right? Because a lot of people are leaving the administration. Yesterday, we told you about how Larry Summers is going to be leaving. He's the director of the National Economic Council, the top economic advisor to the president. He is a corporatist. He's the one who did the deregulation in the first place under Bill Clinton. He's an absolute disaster. He's one of the reasons the crash happened. And so, of course, Barack Obama picked him to be his top economic advisor. What kind of sense does that make? No sense whatsoever. None, right? But no, Obama loves the establishment. Loves him, can't get enough of him. He's like, oh, here's Larry Summers. Oh, here's Tim Geithner. He was part of the New York Fed that screwed everything up. Oh, yeah. Oh, and he gave away money, billions, trillions to the banks. Oh, I love his. Oh, Rahm Emanuel. Oh, God, you want no change, right? Oh, you want everything to remain the same. That's fantastic. Oh, Peter Orszag. Oh, you're even more conservative. You want tax cuts for the rich. Oh, come on, be my head of my OMB, right? So, but luckily, Peter Orszag is gone. He's no longer the director of the Office of Management and Budget, right? And he's not going to win on his tax cuts for the rich for the moment being. Larry Summers is gone. There's a report out today that Rahm Emanuel might leave even before the election. He might leave as early as October from the White House. Booyaka shot. Let's hope. Let's hope. I don't want to jinx it. Okay. There's reports out that Tim Geithner might be replaced. And Obama gave him a really warm quote about Tim Geithner and how he's been ecstatic about how he served him. That's usually a sign before you're about to get the boot out. Okay. So good news today. I'm excited, right? Well, now we're going to find out who is going to replace them, right? So replacing Peter Orszag is the guy we told you about yesterday, Jack Lew. Jack Lew thinks derivatives. I'm sorry, deregulation. Oh, no, that probably had nothing to do with the economic crash. No, deregulation was awesome. Now, why does Jack Lew think that? Because he made millions of dollars at Citigroup after they were deregulated. In fact, after they took our bailout, I believe Citigroup got about $45 billion directly, let alone all the indirect money they got. They gave Jack Lew a $950,000 bonus for sinking the company. Now, he wasn't the head of the company, but along with everybody else, apparently they were grotesquely incompetent, bankrupted it, and begged us for our help, and then for his efforts, he got a $950,000 bonus. But that's not all. He just got named the head of the Office of Management and Budget. Now, that guy fucked the budget up for Citigroup. Why would he do any better for us at the White House and with our national budget? See, if I was there instead of Obama, and I'm sorry if the kids are in the room, get carried away with this, I'd look at Jack Lew's resume and I'd say, oh, we were at OMB for Clinton. Well, that's interesting. That's good because that means you have some experience. Oh, you were at Citigroup when you crashed the entire company, you and all your friends. So, hey, I got a couple of questions about that. Did you have any idea the crash was coming? Oh, you didn't? Well, why are you so stupid? I mean, do you know anything or you don't? I mean, you lost $45 billion and you didn't see that coming? Do you know anything about budgets? Do you know anything about finance? Oh, you really? Well, what do you know? Well, why didn't you, tell the head of Citigroup, my God, we're about to lose $45 billion. We're about to go bankrupt. Why didn't you tell him that? Oh, really? And why do you think the collapse happened if it wasn't your fault and all your friends' fault in New York and on Wall Street? Oh, it wasn't deregulation. We should deregulate further. We should have no limits on leverage. We should have no limits on derivatives trading so you guys can go back to screwing this thing up again. And then you think I would hire him as the head of as Bush would say, my budget man? So what is it? I'm begging you, I'm asking you. I wrote a blog about it today. Check it out on our website. Check it out everywhere else. Why does Barack Obama love the establishment so much? Why does he can't get enough of them? So Orszag goes and Jack Lew comes. He's like, oh, Jack, tell me how you screwed up the economy and please do it again. It's insanity, right? So now we come to find out that the guy that is going to replace Larry Summers is likely to be, according to Bloomberg News, and several other sources actually that I've read, likely to be a top corporate executive. Why? Because Barack Obama is considered anti-business by some people in New York and Washington. The same people who, by the way, robbed us of billions and trillions of dollars, they think Obama hasn't given them enough money, and so he's anti-business. So now they say, hey, you better not be anti-business. Do what we tell you. Look, we got all of our Washington pundits saying you'll be, flogged publicly if you do not give us somebody who's totally pro-business. Take a top corporate executive. Because why? He said, because theoretically the idea is those top corporate executives know how to create jobs. Really? They got a funny way of showing it. Since we gave those guys tax breaks, since we gave them a bailout, you know what has happened? We lost 7.3 million jobs. What do they know about how to create jobs? All they know, the guys on Wall Street, is how to lose billions and trillions of dollars worth of money. So you're going to get one of those guys to come in and... We elected a guy based on change. I come back to it because I can't help it. They say, what do you want me to do? Change? What name so? No, we're going to get a corporate executive. If I wanted a corporate executive who was part of the disaster in the first place, I would have elected a Republican. If that's who I wanted as my top economic advisor to the president. If I wanted a Citigroup executive who has a history of getting bailed out by American taxpayers and making millions doing it, to be the head of our budget, basically our budget director, well, I would have elected a Republican. And apparently I did, I just didn't know it. So that little bit of hope we had about who's going to replace Larry Summers, who's going to do this, ha ha ha, he, gone. Okay, now I could be wrong. Maybe he brings in Joseph Stiglitz. Look, the guy has basically two Nobels. One he won by himself, one he won with another group. He was the chief economist for the World Bank. How much more respected do you need? He's establishment, right? He's got credibility. He's got more credibility than probably any economist in the world. I'm not asking you to pick a dude off the street. I'm not asking you to go into a farmer's market and find a hippie and be like, all right, be my budget director. Okay, and he's going to tell you about ecosexual sex, etc. No, okay? I'm asking you to pick the most respected economist in the world. But you won't do that because the people in New York and D.C. will be very, very upset with you. Mark Halperin will write a mean article about you. Oh, Obama's anti-business. Oh, go please them. See how it works out for you. How has it worked out the last 2 years? Your approval rating started in the 70s, right? And now it's in the low 40s. How's trying to please Mark Halperin and the Washington pundits and all those guys, how's that working out for you? New York and D.C. And by the way, you were trying to please them, and they're still not happy with you. The D.C. pundits are like, oh, tut, tut, tut. Obama's anti-business. Obama's this, Obama's that. The New York guys are like, oh, Obama's hitting us with a stick. He's treating us like a piñata. He's terrible. That hasn't worked, and you've entirely forgotten about the middle class, and you're worried that David Sirota, Jane Hamsher, Glenn Greenwald, Cenk Uygur, Rachel Maddow are costing you votes. Are you freaking kidding me? Go find somebody that knows any of our names. They'll know Rachel's name, but they know anybody else's name? Like we're costing you votes? Come on, dude. Your policy's costing you votes because your policy sucks because you keep picking the worst people in the country to be your advisors. Look, I don't know if you can tell. I get a little animated about this. Can somebody help me out? I mean, write a comment, email us at theyoungturks.com. Send us a tweet. I don't know, okay? Just tell me, why does Obama love the establishment so much? Why is he absolutely in love with them? All you Obama lovers out there. There's not a lot, a lot of you aren't watching this show, but whoever is, and who gets frustrated with me and say, oh, no, you don't understand the brilliance of Obama. Well, tell me why he keeps picking the most pro-corporate, the most wrong, the most power-hungry establishment guys in the country. One of the things I wrote today, I mean, if you said pick 4 Democrats who are more corporatist, who are more pro-establishment, more anti-change than Emanuel, Geithner, Summers, and Orszag, you might not be able to do it. Maybe you could field an A team with like Lieberman, if you still consider him a Democrat, Evan Bayh, Harold Ford Jr., Blanche Lincoln. Well, she did derivatives reform. She probably wouldn't make the A team. Okay. I mean, and so those guys are gone, and and the new king comes in, and he's the same as the old king. All right, and for your Obama lovers, one more thing. Sorry if I'm being too, derisive with the Obama lover comment. I'm not that sorry. Okay, one more question for you. Is there any chance in the world that Barack Obama would pick someone like Howard Dean as his chief of staff? He's not going to pick him for the economic roles. Rahm Emanuel is going to go, hopefully in October. Any chance that he would pick Howard Dean? Now, if you're a real progressive, you like Howard Dean, right? I know maybe 2.5 progressives in the whole country who are not enamored with Howard Dean. In fact, I'm not sure I know that many, right? Because, look, you might think, oh, Washington doesn't like him, it would create political controversy. But is Howard Dean right on the policy? Almost all the progressives in the country agree, right? So, and he's a strong progressive, and he'd fight for the middle class. He would, right? He's not going to fight for Wall Street. He's going to fight for the middle class. So now how many of you out there think that Obama would have the courage to pick Howard Dean? I'm not saying he has to. I'm saying, do you think he would have the courage, if he wanted to pick Howard Dean? You know what the answer is, right? Even if you are the biggest Obama, you got like an Obama doll or like a body pillow and you sleep with it, right? You still know the answer is no. Obama does not have that courage. There's no way in the world he would pick Howard Dean because Mark Halperin would be mad at him. And the D.C. pundits would be very tut. They'd be mad at him. And look, I keep throwing Mark in there because I think he's a perfect example of it. But it's just, he's symbolic. All of the commentators in D.C. that love power, that love the establishment, right? So they just come in there and be like, oh, Howard Dean, he's angry. No, he's trying to stand up for the little guy. He's terrible. No, he'll be anti-business. No. Obama, you're such a bad person. Oh, if I was president. How does the song go? If I were president. There's an assassination in there somewhere, right? But why do you care what they think? God, you're stuck in that bubble. And you're so obsessed with trying to make them happy. You're never going to make them happy. And in the meanwhile, you lost the rest of the country. It's just like that woman from the other day in that forum keeps popping up in my head. I am exhausted with trying to defend you. There's not one person in the country who thinks Obama has the guts or the balls or anything you want to call it to pick a guy like Howard Dean to be his chief of staff, okay? Because he'd be so scared of what they're going to say about him in New York and D.C. And how sad is that? How sad. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. We've got some substantive issues for you guys, and then we got some crazy folks. But let's have fun and start with the crazy folks. At the top of the list of Crazy World, the king of Crazy World, is Glenn Beck. He has figured out, of course, that the president is stacking his administration with Marxists, obviously. Let's let him explain. Clip number 9.
Look, here's what we have. We have a government that has built a cage. We have Marxist after Marxist after Marxist after Marxist, anti-capitalist everywhere. We have John Holdren, the science czar, who has come out and said that we have to deindustrialize or devolve or de-develop the United States of America. Well, how do you do that? You now have the Department of Energy this week coming out and saying, well, we're going to go on and go through all of the regulations on all appliances to figure out which appliances will be available in the future for the United States consumer. I mean, we're going down really spooky paths that don't make any sense unless you understand the framework of global redistribution, not from the wealthy to the poor in America, but from the wealthy America to the poorest nations, and a global governance structure.
So you're alleging a big whole plot by the Obama administration to do that?
No, I'm not alleging it. I'm pointing it out. I'm showing it. It's in their own words.
Oh, no, it's true. It's true. I remember the other day Obama gave a huge speech about global governance. And he said, I would like to hand the reins of this country over to mainly Syria and Kenya. Congratulations. You now run the place. And that's why they elected him, obviously. And he's been a sleeper cell the whole time. And you see that's why over the last 2 years he's given trillions of dollars to Botswana and the Philippines. Oh, no, he didn't. He gave them to Wall Street. Weird. That is such a strange thing for a Marxist to do. Now, not only under Bush's watch, but also under Obama's watch, not only did they give the $700 billion in TARP money, not only did they give $182 billion to AIG, which then went to Wall Street, not only did they give hundreds of billions of dollars to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, which then went to Wall Street, but they also gave $2 trillion through the Fed to buy the toxic assets of Wall Street. So a president who's given literally trillions of dollars to Wall Street is a Marxist and has a global governance plan to have the third world take over. Well, we might become a third world country, but it ain't got nothing to do with global governance. It has to do with the fact that we've given all the money in the country to the top 1%. They've robbed us blind, and we're eventually going to have a situation where we have the mega rich and the rest of us who are at the bottom. And this moron of morons, this lunatic, is on television talking about, oh, the government's full of Marxists. Who the hell's a Marxist? There hasn't been a Marxist around in 50 frickin' years. What are you talking about? Like, when I see stuff like this, I'm like, what happened? What planet did these guys grow up on? But I know what planet. So I read the books on the background of a lot of these conservative hosts. Their dads were all mental. They were all, and I don't know anything about Glenn Beck. I know I read on Rush Limbaugh. I read about the Koch brothers who finance a lot of this, etc. And all their dads have the same theme, which is like, oh, I hate the communists. The communist Marxists are coming. And they're still trying to placate their dads. They're trying to make their dads proud by saying, oh, I hate the Marxists. Which Marxist? There hasn't been a Marxist around in 20 years. Okay. Oh, what are you talking? I said, Daddy, are you proud? Oh, you're proud? I fought the non-existent Marxists. Why don't you go back and fight the Bolsheviks? That's coming. That'll be around the corner. Go back and fight the Shining Path. Go back and fight. I don't know. How many years you got to go back? The Trotskyites, the Jacobin people. Just go. I mean, the great Ming dynasty of the 13th century. As long as you're making crap up. Oh, Obama's always had a Ming strategy. Oh, he's always been a Mingster. And Obama's worried about appeasing these clowns. this is what you should do with the clowns, okay? Yeah, there's lunatics all over the country. That guy in Florida wants to burn Qurans for whatever crazy reason, right? Glenn Beck thinks that the government is full of Marxists and Ronald McDonald's. I don't know, okay, and psycho killers. Who cares what they think? But the reason we cover it is because Obama says, oh my God, you're going to be on Glenn Beck. You remember that? When they fired Shirley Sherrod, they literally told him, you better resign before you're on Glenn Beck. Oh, that's so fucking sad. Oh, that's so sad. All right. I get worked up. All right. Now let's go to Christine O'Donnell. She's decided this. She has a brilliant strategy, which is go on Hannity. Of course, Hannity loves her and would never ask her a tough question. So go on Hannity and then say, see you, wouldn't want to be you, and run the hell away from the media. So let's watch. Clip number 11.
Governor Sarah Palin tweeted, and I thought she gave you some interesting advice, and I want to get your take on it. Christine O'Donnell's strategy, time's limited. Use it to connect with local voters whom you'll be serving versus appeasing national media seeking your destruction.
She's absolutely right. Governor Palin is right. That's a great piece of advice, and that's exactly what we're doing. I had some business in New York today, so thank you for having me on, but our focus is Delaware. I'm going immediately back to Delaware. We've got a packed schedule tomorrow and attending a ladies' luncheon. And
does that mean, for example, all the talk about you got to do this national show, that national show,
no,
is that off the table for you?
It's off the table because that's not going to help me get votes. I instead want to go to as many town hall forums, as many candidate forums, as many church picnics that I can fit into my schedule so that I can meet the voters. Delaware has a very unique opportunity that other Senate candidates don't have, where I can be in every county at least every week, but like tomorrow, every day. I'm going to be in every county tomorrow.
So you're going to forget the taunting, if you will, of the national media.
Let them say what they will.
Okay. You're going to, it seemed Rand Paul went through the same thing. He started doing a lot of national media, then he said, you know what, I'm sticking with Kentucky. So you're saying no to the national media
I'm not going to do any more national media because this is my focus. Delaware is my focus.
Who I want to stay. Who I want to run. You know why you don't do any national media? Because you're a clown of the earth. And so they're going to ask you about all the crazy things you've said before. Hey, you dabbled in witchcraft. Will you be doing any witchcraft in the Senate? Okay, you say you never joined a coven, but that you were part of a satanic ritual. Will there be blood or no blood involved in the satanic rituals you might or might not do in the Senate? Look, I don't give a damn about that stuff, but it's funny, and apparently her voters care about, oh no, she might be a witch. Is she in a coven? Oh, she's not in a coven, okay? But I care about real stuff when she took, apparently according to Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, she took campaign funds and paid her rent with it and got pizza with it and went bowling with it. Wait a minute, what'd you do with the money? Of course, Sean Hannity's not going to ask you that, right? And she's got all these creditors that are after her. She's got the anti-masturbation stance, which is an interesting one. Is she going to bring that to the Senate? She says she's in the group of people who say that if you get raped or you're the victim of incest, sad day for you. Like Sharon Engels said, hey, you know what? Make lemonade out of a lemon situation. And you're going to have that kid, okay? Have your rapist child. That's a relevant question. Oh, no, I don't want the national media. That put me in trouble, right? So I'm going to go to picnics and hide out over there. Of course you are, because you're a terrible candidate who can't answer for the crazy things that you've said and done, and that's why you're going to run from the media. And the first place you run when you want a softball interview, run from the media, is Sean Hannity, because he'll lie next to you and cuddle with you. Like, oh, tell us about how great you are. Let's talk about the sage advice of Sarah Palin. Sad. Could you imagine if she wins? Right. All right, now we go to Joe Miller. More crazies. So this guy's up in Alaska. The Tea Party Jaguars gave him $600,000 to beat Lisa Murkowski. And he spent that money. They might not have been the Jaguars. It might have been the Patriots or maybe the Buccaneers. Anyway, they gave him the $600,000, and he ran this campaign, pretending to be a populist, etc. He's with the little guys, except for if they're out of a job, then screw them. He's going to explain his stance on unemployment. Let's go to clip number 1. This ought to be good.
Unemployment
benefits. You say that they are unconstitutional, and I have two questions. First of all, why are unemployment benefits unconstitutional? And secondly, the Census Bureau this week came out with new figures that indicated 44 million Americans are living in poverty, and without unemployment benefits, a lot more, millions more would be living in poverty. What would you do for them?
Well, I think the question is, what is the role of the federal government? Right now, we've grown the federal government into such a size that we have what? I think in absolute terms now, $13.4 trillion in debt. If you look at the future unfunded obligation, which a lot of those are the entitlement programs, by some estimates, $130 trillion. That's unsustainable. That's just the facts. And I think Americans recognize that those are the facts. The exciting thing is that Americans are looking for answers. Alaskans are looking for answers. Here in Alaska, 40% of our economy is somewhat derived from the federal government. If we continue to say that things got to continue the way they are, the expansion of the government, which is unconstitutional in many ways, is the wave of the future. It is a dead-end road, particularly for this state, because of that impending bankruptcy.
But Mr. Miller,
the nation as a whole.
If I may, because I'm not sure you answered my question. Why are unemployment benefits unconstitutional? And in a time of a tough economy, a recession, and now a kind of jobless recovery, what are you going to do for the 44 million people who are living in poverty?
I think what you need to look at is the context. We had an extension of unemployment benefits several weeks ago, which is beyond what we've had in the past in this country. What we have in this country is an entitlement mentality. It's an entitlement not just at the individual, but even at the state level, that if all goes wrong, it's the federal government's role to get in there and provide for the general welfare, to basically provide for the solvency, particularly of states and other entities. You know, the Constitution provides enumerated powers. And I guess my challenge is to anybody that asks, show me the enumerated power. And then look at the 10th Amendment that says, if it's not there in the Constitution, it's a power that belongs to the state and the people. And I think we as a people need to stop being disingenuous about what the Constitution provides for. It does not provide for this all-encompassing power that we've seen exercised over the last several decades. It's what's gotten us into this bankrupt position.
Yeah, that's interesting. So asked twice, what are you going to do for the people who are either in poverty or unemployed? Answer, not a damn thing, other than
rough talk him and run him off.
Okay, so, you know, he says giving them help is unconstitutional, that we have an entitlement mentality in the country. Now, I've gone over this before. You know why Social Security, for example, and Medicaid are called, or Medicare, I should say, are called entitlements. Because you put money into Social Security, as an example, hence you are entitled to get the money back, because it's your money, right? This entitlement mentality, like you want your money back. We already spent it, man, on wars. It was awesome. Now, he says unsustainable. No. If we give money to the unemployed, that's unsustainable. All right, so I assume then giving $700 billion worth of tax cuts to the top 2%, that would also be unsustainable. Oh, no, that's massively sustainable. Yeah, that's fantastic. Tax cuts for the rich, always sustainable. But if you're at the bottom, man, come on.
Get.
You're unsustainable. You got an entitlement mentality. Entitlements are for Wall Street, not for the little people. Now, if my Wall Street buddies ask me, the same people who funded my campaign through the Tea Party Panthers, then that's fantastic. Yeah, I give them billions. I give them trillions. Yeah, I got no problems with that. But you're unsustainable, okay? By the way, the constitutionality issue was settled decades ago. When it comes to the Commerce Clause, over a century ago. And this guy wants to go back and relitigate. What do you want to relitigate, Marbury versus Madison? Oh, can the Supreme Court do anything? I don't know. Ridiculous. Yeah, come on. Please don't put these lunatics in the Senate. You know, it's Alaska. He could easily win. You're going to have this crazed guy who wants to undo the entire government. You're going to have him in the Senate. Okay. Now, by the way, one quick note here. Look, I run against the corporatist Democrats all the time. I rough talk them and I run them off, and you know that, right? And the Evan Bayes of the world and the Blanche Lincolns, and the list goes on. And we fight against those guys for good reason. But there are good, strong progressives out there. and they're in tough fights right now. You got to do the opposite too, man. You got to have their back. If they're going to stick their neck out and they're going to be tough, strong progressives, I mean, look, I'm sure there are more, but let me give you 3 names, right? Russ Feingold in Wisconsin. God, the man has been right on every single vote. Go back 20 years. You know who's the one guy, or actually among 6 Democrats who voted no on deregulating, even though Bill Clinton wanted it, their Democratic president wanted it? Feingold. He said, no, this is going to lead to a disaster. He was right. He was 100% right. The one guy who voted for the Patriot Act because it takes away our rights. Conservatives should agree with him. Progressives, everybody should agree with him. He had the courage to stand up and do that. And the list goes on and on. If he loses to one of these guys, to Ron Johnson, who gets government subsidies and then pretends to be against government subsidies, what are we doing? No, we got to stand up for guys who fight for us. Alan Grayson, he's actually in a tough district. That district's been Republican for so long until he won that election. Now, if they beat Alan Grayson, imagine how unbearable the Republicans are going to be. Oh, but forget the Republicans. The Washington media, imagine how unbearable they're going to be. Oh, tut, tut, tut. You see, Alan Grayson was so radical, so extreme. He was actually a progressive. No, that's why he lost. Do what you can, man. We got to get... Look, I don't say that about very many politicians, and actually there are things I significantly disagree with Grayson on. But look, so you can't be a doctrinarian, you can't be ideologically pure. There is reality, there is practicality and pragmatism, and I have an opinion, and I'm telling you what it is. Third guy, Tom Perriello, okay? Won in a really tough, what they call an unwinnable district in Virginia. Replaced a bigot in that, the guy who was Virgil Good talked about how we got to get Muslims out of the country. There are too many Muslims that were in the country, etc. And he beat him when nobody thought he could beat him. But he's still in a really tough race. He's one of the guys who thought financial reform wasn't tough enough. You got to go back that guy, okay? Because if you can because here are your 2 scenarios. The day after the elections in 2010, the midterm elections, Democrats have lost everywhere. And they lost, Perriello, Grayson, and Feingold lost, okay? I give them as examples because they're outstanding examples. They're in tough areas where they can win or lose, right? If they lose, everybody's going to write, oh, you see, Democratic Party has to go further right. Right. These guys went left, and you see what happened. They lost, la, 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 la. And this country is going to become even more mentally right-wing. But if a lot of Democrats lose in 2010, and those 3 guys win, then we get to say, hey, wait a minute. All you corporatists, all you conservative Democrats, you ran in that direction, and you lost. But the guys who were real fighters, real progressives, they won. Maybe that's the way to go. So it's more important than those 3 races. It's enormously important for which direction the Democratic Party goes. And they say, like, the Obama administration says people like me are trying to depress voter turnout. Are you crazy? No, if somebody fights for you, you fight for them. So, whether it's volunteering, going to their websites, contributing, whatever it is, man, you got to do it, okay? In my opinion, guys like that are more important than the rest of them combined. All right, Young Turks.
Get these mutts away from me, I don't find this stuff amusing anymore.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Justice Antonin Scalia is a very conservative justice. He claims to be very principled, and a lot of people respect him and call him brilliant, etc. That is not true. He is not brilliant. He is not principled, and I'm going to explain why right now. He recently said at the University of California Hastings College of Law speech, if the current society wants to outlaw discrimination by sex, you have legislatures. Meaning he doesn't think that the Constitution prohibits sex discrimination. So if you want to say, hey, I don't want to hire women, or if they get pregnant, I want to fire them, or whatever other kind of discrimination you want to do based on sex, Antonin Scalia thinks that's perfectly constitutional. Well, you say, wait a minute, the 14th Amendment guarantees you due process and equal protection of the laws. He says, no, that was only meant for black people. Interesting opinion for a conservative to have. He says, no, I'm a strict interpretationist. And so, and look, I just stick to what the Constitution says. It doesn't matter what the politics of it is. Is that right? So equal rights do not apply to women, according to Antonin Scalia. Guess what he used the equal rights to apply to in another case? To make sure that George Bush would win the presidency in 2000 because he wouldn't be discriminated against by having votes counted in a different way in Broward County and Dade County within Florida. He said, well, that would be a violation of equal rights according to the 14th Amendment. No, it's not meant to protect women or, by the way, Latinos, Jews, anybody else, right? It's not meant to protect anybody outside of black folks and George W. Bush. What a joke Scalia is. What a sad, sad joke is. You know what else is sad? When I was a young conservative, and especially in judicial matters, I used to respect Scalia. I bought into the hype. I was like, oh, no, but he's principled, etc. And then as I was reading more and more of the cases when I was in law school and otherwise, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to jive. Like, for example, on states' rights. He's like, oh, states' rights, absolutely. They can discriminate against black folks, no question about that. And if they want to pass laws against gay marriage, oh, that's states' rights. And then a case came out about pot and how some states said, hey, peyote is something that we have a tradition of here, and we're going to let the Native Americans do that. He said, no, you don't have any states' rights. What are you talking about? That's pot. Wait a minute, do you believe in states' rights or you don't? The guy has absolutely no principle. He's just doing it based on whatever his politics is. He doesn't like pot, so he's against it. He doesn't like euthanasia because his sky god told him that's wrong, so you don't have a states' rights to do that. But if his sky god told him that to hate gay people, so he's like, oh, you have states' rights to hate gay people. Yes, you can do that. What a joke this guy is. And people take this guy seriously, like, oh, he's a respected jurist. God, oh, he is brilliant. Like, even back when I was a conservative, I knew who, I got it. I read his case. I was like, this guy isn't brilliant. He's ridiculous. Here, let me give you an example, right? Now, Scalia says, you know what? I am a strict interpretationist, and I think the Constitution is exactly the letter of the law, exactly as it was written, with the interpretation of the Founding Fathers, right? What they meant. So there's the other point of view that says, no, the Constitution is a living document, right? And it's meant to grow. That's why it has terms like due process. And it depends on what you mean by due process. And the job of the Supreme Court is to interpret that. Now, where do I stand on that, right? I stand for, yes, I'm not with the guys who say living document, the Constitution is meant to mean whatever the hell I think it means today politically, whether I'm a right-winger or a left-winger, right? And I don't believe in the strict interpretation. Why? Because back when the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, people used to get whipped as punishment. Like they'd take a whip and they'd slash them in the back. Now, today that would be considered cruel and unusual punishment and a violation of the Eighth Amendment. So I guess according to Scalia, nope, the Constitution never changes. Whatever the Founding Fathers were, nope, to warrantless wiretapping, there was no telephones back then. So, okay, that's it. Does that mean you can or cannot do warrantless wiretapping? I'd have to do a mind meld with the Founding Fathers to try to find out. That's absurd. Of course we interpret it within the context of our time. At the same time, I am a conservative judicially in a lot of ways. I think Roe versus Wade is totally wrong on a legal matter. Policy-wise, I love it. I think it was a brilliantly written law. I wish the legislator had wrote it, right? But the Supreme Court said, okay, now in the second trimester, the Constitution says, oh, come on, there's nothing about the trimesters in the Constitution. But I'm actually consistent on this. But Scalia, the least consistent guy in the world. So he says, nope, strict interpretation, right? So, for example, free speech, okay? It's meant to apply to the press and to individuals and also to corporations. What are you talking about? The Founding Fathers were so scared of big business interests. They wrote pamphlet after pamphlet, watch out for big business! They never intended for freedom of speech to apply for corporations to be considered human beings and have the rights of the First Amendment and have freedom of speech rights, in other words, rights to spend as much money as possible to buy all the politicians. Thomas Jefferson is rolling in his grave about that idea. James Madison, George, all of them. This guy pretends to be a strict interpretationist. He's not. He's a fraud of the highest order. Stop taking him seriously. Instead, what Scalia does is, what do the Republicans want? Well, they want Bush in office? Yeah, screw that. Equal protection. All right, we don't like women, right? No, they don't get equal protection, right? Gays. So what does Sky God say? Sky God, how shall I write the laws? Oh, you don't like gays. Gays, no, not protected by the Constitution. You know that in Lawrence v. Texas, in his dissent, Scalia said that the government should have a right to outlaw masturbation. Yeah, good. So he doesn't want the government getting between you and your doctor, for example, in healthcare, et cetera, like the conservatives say, as an example, but he wants the government to get between you and your hand. Come on, man. What a fraud all of these guys are. Sky God, what should I do about masturbation? Oh, they were against that. No states' rights, right? And then, of course, whoever's paying the bills, hey, big corporations, well, who do I need to service? What's going on? Yeah, of course, you guys have all the rights in the world. Stop taking these guys seriously. And what I can't stand is the idea that these guys are brilliant. They're not brilliant. They're doing the same demagoguery, tricks, judicial activism, unprincipled garbage that they've been doing all this time. Scalia, please, don't buy into the hype. They hype up guys like this just so they can get their corporatist ways. Tell them that I'm coming. And so is Randy Gonzalez. All right, Young Turks.
As they drag you